I'm Diane Hall with AARP Missouri, and I'd like to welcome you to our 5th Yoga for All class. This is our next to last one. It's part of our AARP Missouri's Moving It Fitness series, if I could talk. This class is suitable for many levels of fitness. However, every time we send out a reminder, you should receive cautions and guidelines about the class. Please adhere to those guidelines, and if you have any concerns, check with your doctor before participating. AARP Missouri also offers classes called Forever Fit and Zumba Light, and we have links to past programs like Tai Chi that you can participate in from the recordings. And when this class ends, Tyler will have a couple of new classes that she can maybe talk about at the end of this that will be coming up. All of our programming is created with people 50 plus in mind, but good for anyone of any age, anywhere. To learn more about those opportunities, please go to aarp.org/movingit. You'll find information there about our new sweepstakes for a Fitbit Versa 3 and other prizes that come out monthly. If you haven't signed up, make sure you do it today, because speaking of which, Tyler, I think you have an announcement for us about April's prize winning.
I do have an announcement. Dun, 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 drum roll. The winner for the sweepstakes in April is Michelle Haynes of Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Woohoo! Yeah, I see. And what is the sound of hands clapping on mute?
And Michelle, I believe, will win a fitness yoga mat and hand weights. Those are our monthly prizes. AARP does realize that fitness series like the Yoga for All can be great options for anybody who can't attend a traditional fitness class, like someone who's a caregiver and has to stay home with their loved one, or if you're staying home to reduce your risk during the pandemic. We also have other resources for people like caregivers, up-to-date COVID-19 information as well, and tech information on our website at aarp.org/nearyou. Now, I think most of you, I don't think most of you are first timers, but if you are a first timer, please make sure that you pin our instructor, Tyler Furguson, in your video so that you can see her on screen for the whole class and follow the moves. You can pin her by going to her little Hollywood square. Yeah, she's raising her hand over there. Just hover your cursor over her and you should get a little pop-up with 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots in the corner of her box to pin her. When you click pin in that options box, she'll stay on your screen. And one more thing that will really help us out is if you would please mute yourself until the end, where we might question the name. My seminars are great to help young homeowners. Okay, I will fix that. If you don't mute yourself, I will probably find you and mute you. So let's get started with Yoga for All. Again, our instructor is Tyler Furguson from Caliente Fitness. Tyler, take it away.
Thank you, Diane. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy April. We're going to begin today with a breathing and grounding practice, and I'm going to invite you to take a seat for your practice. I can see how I look on the screen. Hold on, let me scoot back a little bit. Oh, that looks better. So if being on the floor isn't comfortable for you, feel free to find a chair or a couch or something nearby to sit up on. Otherwise, if you're on the floor, you might consider elevating your hips. And today we're going to have fun with blocks, or fun with props, or fun with alternative props. So if you have blocks, or let's see how this works, or soup cans, you can sometimes just put them under your thighs, and that can just feel better in the hips to have a little bit of support under there. So I'm going to use soup cans for this. We'll just take a moment to prepare ourselves for our class. So I'd like for you to arrive into a seated position so that you feel alert, but not rigid in your spine. Take a moment to notice your sit bones rooting down in the floor or the pad or the chair that you're on. And if you're having a difficult time finding the sits bones, start to take some tiny circles in the trunk. And then you can feel the bottom of your pelvis, probably the most prominent sensation of the bottom of the pelvis touching into the ground, into the floor, into the chair. And then see if you can arrive with your shoulders over those sits bones, finding length in the spine. And again, alert, but not rigid. then allow yourself to drop your chin just down to your chest slightly. Take your eye gaze down to the floor. Stop looking at the screen and just listen to my voice. You can close your eyes or just keep them heavy. Begin to notice your breath. Notice the air passing through the nostrils as you inhale through the nose, and as you exhale through the nose. Keep breathing in and out of the nose. And notice where you feel this sensation of breath more. Do you feel it more in your nostrils? The air passing the insides of the nostrils or near the upper lip? Do you feel the sensation more in your throat as the air passes down the back of the throat or moves back up through? Or are you more aware of your breath as you fill up the lungs and expand in the torso? Wherever you notice the sensation most, allow yourself to tap into that a little deeper and notice how that makes you feel. Does it make you feel warm, open, long, relaxed? Any answer is fine. Just see if you can see what it brings up for you or how it resonates with you. I'd like to try one little breathing exercise with you before we begin moving. On your next inhale, at the top of your inhale, just pause for 1 or 2 moments. No breath in, no breath out. And then exhale your air back out. Back into your inhale when you're ready. Filling up. And then pausing at the top of your inhale, suspending the breath for just a moment or 2. And then moving back into your exhale. Continue moving in this way with your breath divided into these 3 parts. And notice at the top of your inhale, if you can extend that pause just a moment or 2 longer. Be mindful not to force the pauses or force any one of the parts of the breath. We want to keep the nervous system calm and relaxed, and that slight pause can help trigger the parasympathetic nervous system. So you don't want to hold on so long that you go into fight or flight. Just notice if you can incorporate this pause into your breath. It's a great recovery tool. There's an incident that happens in your life that causes your heart rate to increase or yourself to get butterflies, you can try this breathing technique. Pausing at the top of your inhale. And then remove the pause from the top and move back into just 2 phases of the breath, the inhale and the exhale. Nice and smooth transitions between the 2, not taking the breath so long that it's interrupted or stuttered in your transition. On your next inhale, fill up as deeply as you can. Fill up as fully as you can. Your biggest breath of the day, big inhale. Open your mouth, ha, exit all out. Inhale into the nose. And then lift your eye gaze back up to the screen and blink, open your eyes. Wiggle your toes and your fingers. We'll remove the props out from under our thighs. We're going to transition into tabletop right away today. So organizing your space, come into your tabletop shape on your mat, hands and knees. And take some time to organize your tabletop. So look down between your knees, make sure that they fall under the hips, that they're not close together underneath. You want a wider base of support. And then spread the fingers out in the palms of the hands. Stretch the webbing of the hands. And take this moment, notice how much weight is in your hands. So see if you can come forward and put more weight in the hands, and then shift the hips back and take the weight out. So I want you to find an amount of weight that's tolerable for you in the hands, and then press the fingertips down into the ground and notice how the knuckles pop up a little bit, and maybe even turn white between the finger pads and the knuckle. Good. So maintaining that little grip in the hands will help you not blow up the wrists. If your wrists aren't having it right now, that's okay. Go ahead and come to fists for wrists. That's always an option for you if you want to do that. Let's start to move into some gentle cat-cow. So on an inhale, let the rib cage drop. The eye gaze is going to lift and the tail is going to lift. There's your cow pose. Inhale. On your exhale, pull your belly button and your ribs away from the floor and round your back up to the ceiling. Tuck your tail down to your heels or bring your eye gaze down to your knees or even back to your toes. There's your cat pose. Start to move between the two, shifting in between cow, inhale, finding your cat on your exhale. And I want to encourage you to move on your own, move with your breath, trust your inner yogi, and try to avoid finding the extremes of these two poses, but focusing more on the articulation of each vertebra in the spine. See if you can picture the spine in your mind's eye and feel each one of the vertebrae moving independently of the other, particularly in the middle of the back. Come to pause, come to neutral here. So come to a flat back. We're going to move our spine in a lateral direction. So take your hips and drop them over toward your right heel. So you might feel a stretch already in the right hip. And then take your eye gaze and look over your left shoulder back at your left heel. So now we have kind of a cat-cow shape only in the side body. Breathe into that. Come back up to center and take it the other direction. Drop your hips over towards your left heel. Pause. Feel that stretch. And then take your eye gaze. Look over your right shoulder, back at your right heel. And then notice how you're rounding through the left rib cage. Now push up through cat pose. Drop the right hip to the right heel. Look over left shoulder. Good. Take a big breath into that side body stretch. And then round up through cat pose and drop left hip down towards left heel, looking over right shoulder, looking at your right ankle. Then one more time, just finding that sideways cat-cow shape on your own. Shifting the hips back one more time. And then bringing yourself back into neutral. Put your big toes together, take your knees nice and wide, and send your hips back into a child's pose. If you know what that is and if it feels good to you. If your knees don't love child's pose, you can look at the screen for a moment because you have a couple options here. Sometimes our knees don't like this deep flexion. So you can just lift your hips. You don't have to take them into child's pose, but you can just walk your chest down. So this is more of a melting heart or a puppy pose. So that's an option for you if you don't like child's pose. Hopefully this feels somewhat restorative to you, and you can even come up on your arms, your forearms a little bit if that's too deep in the shoulders. Whatever pose you've chosen to take, press your fingertips into the ground, come back up into your tabletop shape, and grab your blocks or whatever substitutes for blocks you have today. I'm going to start with the boxes, see if we can work it all in. And then planting your hands near your boxes, let's bring the right leg towards the right hand. Now remember, if the right leg doesn't get there, that's fine. I want you to pick it up and get it there. There you go. So that the right hand is inside the right leg. Press the right arm into the right leg and the right leg into the arm. So press them into one another and see if that turns on your core. So tap into that feeling and then press the top of your back foot and the back shin down on the ground. So find the activation of both legs. Core is turned on, rise up, shoulders over hips, proposal pose. You can bring your hands to prayer right in front of the chest. And then put your hands down on your pelvis. Remember we did this one last week where if the hands are pointing, the fingertips are pointing away, back to the back body, put the pelvis into neutral. So the fingertips are pointing more down to the floor. Take your same arm, so the left leg is back, the left arm comes up. That'll be more of a stretch. Now start to tone and firm that left back glute a little bit as the left arm comes up. Maybe the right arm comes up to join it. Find the connection between the top of the back left leg, the back of the foot into the ground. Feel that torque or feel that energy as you ground. Now flex your wrists, flat back, hinge your hips. So it's as if you're going to lay your chest on your thigh, but you don't. And then bring your hands down to the ground, right where we started. So notice here how the spine might feel with the hands down on the ground. And then grab your blocks, soup cans, blocks, books, whatever, and then allow yourself to come up. You can even put your fingertips on your blocks. So feel how that just changes how you feel in the spine. And then you can play around with different heights. Actually, let's do this. Let's take the right hand and put it on the outside of the right foot, walk the right foot in a little bit. So now we're framing the foot with our props. And just notice how the props bring the floor up to us and allow us to elongate through the spine. Take the crown of the head, reach it forward, and then just start to floss back and forth. So again, no pain. We don't want to move in any pain, but notice how the props help you move into this flossing motion. The hips are just surging forward a little bit. Keep that back glute engaged. And then you can even walk the hands back as you come into this half split shape. Maybe draw your toes up. Walk your blocks forward. Come into a deep lunge. I want to make a point about this lunge. If your knee is way over your ankle here, I don't love that. I would like to have the knee aligned with the ankle so that when you're in your deep lunge, your heel stays on the ground. So be mindful to keep your heel on the ground when you come into this deep lunge. So a couple more times, finding this movement, this flossing sensation. Good. Now, option to get rid of the blocks, or maybe turn a block down to its lower size. I'm working with a cardboard box right now. Take your left hand, place it on the block, bring your right hand into your chest and start to rotate your chest towards your front leg. Pull your elbow up into the air, find that rotation. Good, so you have this nice rotation in the trunk. You can take your eye gaze up to the ceiling, breathe into this rotation, and then place your hand, your right hand, right where your left hand was. Pull your left hand into the chest, start to rotate the left chest to the left side, pull the elbow up, press into the hand, into the block, the right hand down, look up at the ceiling. Inhale in, exhale. Let's repeat that. Left hand goes where the right hand is. Pull the hand in the chest, drive the elbow up. Now you have an option to reach your arm long here, but I don't want the desire to get the arm long to get in the way of the rotation. Rotation's important here. That's what we're after. And then switch. Exhale down. Left arm comes up, left elbow up. Maybe the arm extends. Breath in and switch one more time. Stay connected in the glutes. So as you rotate, keep the right glute and the left glute engaged. Maybe the bottom arm can corkscrew and shoulder pack as you reach into this twist. And back down. Switch. Left elbow up. Remember, elbow is fine. You can extend the arm if you want. Breathe in. And then exhale it back down. Take your foot wide again. Bring your hand right back inside of your foot. Bring your right knee back and press back into your child's pose, whatever expression of child's pose you do. One breath here. Fill up completely, maybe even pause. Exhale it all out. Press your fingertips in the ground, pull yourself back into the tabletop. We'll take this whole series on the other side. Left hand comes up towards the left. Left foot comes up towards the left hand. Organize your foot. Make sure your ankle is under your knee. Bring in your props. I'm going to do soup cans this time, and then start to find your sawing motion. Good. So you're just sending the hips forward. Only send them back as far as you want to. So as the hips come back here, my apologies. Let me do this. Take your left hand and put it on the outside of your left foot and walk it in. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah. So now we can start the sawing motion. And then pause here. Press the top of your back foot into the ground. Press your front heel into the ground and rise up into your tabletop position. See if you can organize the pelvis into that neutral orientation. This time our right leg is back, so we'll bring the right arm up into the air. And then if it feels okay, left arm up into the air. So feel this length in the arms. And you don't have to force your arms back, right? So you want to keep your head nice and neutral. So if by bringing your arms up, you have to bring your head forward, just keep your arms out in front. That's fine. Breathe into this shape and then flex the wrists. Take this big reach forward as you hinge down at the back and bring your hands down to the floor or onto your props. And then we can continue to saw for a few moments here, or floss for a few moments here. So as the hips go back, you can keep the foot firmly planted on the ground. That might be a lot of hamstring sensation for you, or you can walk your prop back Start to straighten out the front leg a little bit, maybe lift the toes. So for some, that's a lot of flexion in this knee, and don't do it if it brings up pain. And then walk it forward. Here, you're going to let the hip drift forward a little bit, turn on that back glute to protect the low back. And then come back to neutral. Let's see how the soup can works on the twist. I'm going to lay the soup can down so it can roll. Place my hand on it. Bring my left arm to my chest, drive my left elbow up, rotate my rib cage to my front leg. Breathe in and exhale. Let it go. Switch the hands, pull the hand in, drive the elbow up. Let the elbow drive rotate the chest. And then notice a tendency for this knee to collapse in while you're rotating. So keep pulling the knee towards the piggy toe and then switch. Move with the breath. Inhale, find rotation, drive elbow up, and then exhale, switch. Inhale, maybe the arm lengthens. Be active in the forward knee, forward leg. And switch. Big open, we're stacking our shoulders on top despite the lever length of the arm. And then bring yourself back down. Place your left hand inside your foot, walk your foot wide, bring yourself back to child's pose. Take a couple deep breaths in your child's pose. Let's do this for fun. I'm going to use books this time. Pull yourself up out of your child's pose and then set up your blocks like they were. And then put your hands on your blocks. So I'm going to take books, I'm going to turn them up. Put your hands on your blocks and then sit down into your child's pose with your hands up on your blocks. Might be hard for your head to reach the ground here, but see if you can get the forehead to touch the ground and notice how that stretches the shoulders. Just having the hands up and elevated like that. So if you're using books like I am, they're a little wobbly, but I'm still able to use them to elevate the arms. I'm going to press the tops of my feet into the ground, feel the core turn on, the low belly, and then pull myself up with my book props. Oops, I'm losing my headphone. For goodness sakes, I didn't think that would happen. Okay, let's do one more series here in our low lunge position. I'm going to go to traditional blocks now. Send my hips back, drive my right foot forward, bring it inside my right hand. And then notice my left leg back here. I'm going to bring it towards the midline. All right, so I'm just going to find a little angle on it and then press up. And then notice, last week we did our standing warrior series. So this might feel a little bit like a warrior two. So this knee is tracking over this toe and this hip is open up in the back. Take your hands and rotate. Find the skin and rotate the flesh so that the knee wants to track to the piggy toe. So sometimes we have a tendency to do this in the warrior. So we want to rotate it, keep it out, and then find the activation to hold your knee out toward your piggy toe. Good. And then peel yourself open. So find your warrior pose on your knees. Good. Take your eye gaze over your front fingers. Lengthen up through your spine, lengthen through the crown of your head, pressing into the back shin and keeping that knee externally rotated towards the hip rotated so the knee is towards the toe. Awesome sauce. Windmill your arms, bring your hands back down to the mat, right hand inside the right foot, walk it wide and step it back. One child's pose, just kiss. Inhale, exhale, pull yourself back up. Left hand or left foot goes to left hand here. Your back leg can come across and you can rise up into your warrior shape here. I'm going to turn around so you can see it. Da, 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 da. And then take a moment and then rotating the flesh on your front thigh. Keep the knee tracking towards the piggy toe. When you have that activation, turn on the glute, hamstring to get that activation. Lift the chest over the thighs. And then open yourself up, warrior two, kneeling warrior two. Eye gazes over your front finger. Create some distance between the shoulder blades, let the heart lift a little bit. Do this with me. Rotate your palms up to the ceiling. Notice how the shoulders are going to rotate in the sockets. Keep that activation in the shoulder sockets and only move at the wrists to bring your palms down. Notice how open your chest feels there. One more breath here. And then windmill, bring the arms back down. If they land and you frame your foot, just bring the left hand inside the foot, walk the left foot back, organize the right foot straight back, and then come back into child's pose. So I want you to remember that activation in Warrior Two, and we're going to find it in our standing pose today. Pull yourself up from child's pose. Curl your feet, or curl your toes under. We're going to begin to hover here. So spread the fingers wide, pack your shoulders down your back, curl your toes, and then just lift your knees off the ground. So I'm hovering off the ground, maybe 2 inches, 1 inch. Slightly draw your belly in. Packing your shoulders down your back will help you recruit your lats. And then press back into the ground with your fingertips. Try not to dump into the wrists here. And then lower the knees back down. If you want to go to fist for wrists, you can, or you can keep workshopping. It's almost as if you have little shims under your wrists and you're more into your fingers. So let's try it one more time. Curl the toes. Slide the shoulders down the back to turn on the lats. Draw the low belly in. And then hover and lift the knees. Eye gaze is down. So you're not looking at the screen here. You're looking straight down between your thumbs. Your head is in the space between your 2 hands. From here, lift your hips and find downward facing dog. Good. Let the head hang heavy in dog. You have a tendency to look forward. I want you to look back behind you, look at your toes. Now, if you have a heart condition or glaucoma and you're not supposed to have the head below the heart, go right back down to the hover. Otherwise, work in your downward facing dog. You can start to pedal the feet. You're going to push through one heel and then lift it up and push through the other heel. So we've been here for a while, so let's walk the hands back to the feet. And as you're doing that, you're pushing the weight back to your heels. The knees are bent. Let your chest drape over your thighs. Let your head hang heavy again. Shake your head yes to make sure you've removed all the tension from your head. We'll move into a half lift. So press your hands into your shins. Lift your heart and reach through the crown of your head, trying to flatten out your back. The crown of your head reaches towards the front of your mat. Your shoulders are out of your ears. Your sits bones are reaching towards the back of the room. Maybe bring your shoulder blades together. Gaze is down at the floor still. Back of the neck is nice and long. Inhale here. Exhale, fold one more time. Let the head hang heavy. You could grab opposite elbows here for ragdoll pose. And notice when you grab the opposite elbows, it pulls you a little deeper into the shape. You never have to have your legs straight here. Never, never, never. And then release your bind. Place the weight in your heels. Bring your arms out wide. Start to lift your eye gaze forward. Keep your head even with your heart. Take a moment here. And then press into your heels. Come to standing. Nice and slow. If you feel dizzy, just sit right back down to the floor because we had our head upside down for a pretty long time. So moving slowly. Hands are up overhead. And then exhale, arms down to your sides. Find your mountain pose here. So I want you to hang out in Tadasana, our mountain pose. Feet are about hips distance apart, arms are down to the side. I want you to pretend like somebody's going to come and push you, right? So draw your feet in together, pack your shoulders, make yourself nice and firm so nobody can push you over. Nice and tall, strong Tadasana. A big wind comes by, it can't blow you over. Inhale the arms up, reach overhead. Right hand is going to grab the left wrist. I know you can't see it right now, so I'm going to come to my knees, but I don't want you to do that. You just stay standing. Pull your shoulder up into your ear so you get that big side body stretch and come up and over half moon pose. And then come back up to center. Change your grip. If you want to stay there longer, I took you out too soon. That's okay. Move on your own. Otherwise, pull your arm up and out. Come over. Now, when I say arm up and out, that should feel comfortable and safe. I don't want you to pull it out of your socket. Let's try that again. Let's come back up to the center. Now you see what I'm doing with my hands. Pull up into this lateral bend. The weight is even in both feet. Breathe into the left rib cage that's exposed here, or whatever rib cage is exposed, whatever direction you're going. Switch. Up and over. This side body stretch, guys, boy, if you could just do this big side body stretch every day, that'd do a lot to free up your shoulders and your back. Separate your grip from your hands, pull your elbows down, start to let your heart drift forward, squeeze the glutes, and let the points of the hips drift forward. Kind of a standing cobra pose. And then inhale your arms up in the air. One more time, reach overhead. Bring your hands to prayer. tilt your pelvis. Tilt, tilt, tilt the pelvis. Bring your chest back down to your thighs. I didn't mean to go to the ground yet. Inhale, half lift. Lengthen through spine. Exhale, fold. Place your weight in your heels. Rise up to standing one more time. I tried to take you down on the ground too soon. I wasn't ready for that yet. And then arms come down to the side. Let's do this. Let's face the screen and take the feet pretty wide. So toes are still tracking forward. Feet are pretty wide, maybe wider than your yoga mat. Yeah? And then bring your arms out, extended along to the side for star pose. Good. Now, take your right heel and pivot and place your toes so they're in line with your right fingertips. Start to bend that front knee, and you can scoot your foot moving into your warrior pose. Take your hands and place them on your hips just for a minute so we don't blow up the arms. Trying to get the ankle under the knee here. And then in this back foot, please don't take your toes away. Keep them parallel, or even better, can you internally drop the heel back, internally rotate the hip a little bit. Great. Rotate the skin or the flesh of your front thigh. Knee is tracking towards that pinky toe. You can see your big toe in between there. And then arms come up. Now notice for a second, see where my shoulders are relative to my hips? Sometimes we want to just take off and fly as a warrior. So pull your shoulders back over your hips and lengthen through the spine. Great. Keep breathing, guys. Now, open up the wrists, feel the shoulders externally rotate, and then keeping the shoulders in this open chest feeling, just take the wrists and rotate them down. Keep the shoulders open. Great. Take your eye gaze over your front fingers, warrior two pose. Find your feet into the ground and pull the mat together. Notice the activation that happens there. And then release. Bring your hands onto your hips, straighten out your front leg. Heel comes up, pivot the toes back to the front of the room. Inhale the arms up for star pose. Exhale the arms down to the hips. Pivot on your other foot. Good. Find the bend in your knee. And then start to workshop this pose from the ground up. So the knee are the toes that have faced the side of the room. Look down. Work that flesh, get the knee open, and then look at your back leg. Can you bring those toes just slightly towards the front, maybe by dropping that back heel a little bit? Good, yeah. Opening up the arms, notice the tendency to want to fly. Pull the shoulders back over the hips, lift and lengthen through the spine. Take your eye gaze over your front fingers. Now notice your feet in the ground, particularly that back foot. So we have a little internal rotation on the hip, but we still want to feel the outside edge, the piggy toe mound of the back foot. Good. Keep active in the front knee, external rotation on the front hip. Breathing here. Tear or pull the ground together with your feet. Notice all the musculature that comes up from the legs. When you pull the ground together, can you lengthen through your spine if your feet are actively pulling the ground together? Nice. Hands go to the hips. Straighten out your front leg. Rotate your toes back towards the front of the screen. We're going to take a wide-legged forward fold here. I'm going to show you from a side angle. Inhale, lift your heart. On your exhale, I want the back to stay flat. Pull your hips behind your heels and try to bring your shoulders even with your hips with your back flat. Your eye gaze is going to go down. Try not to look at the screen, and then just pause here. So we're not taking our head below the heart here. We're just pausing. Notice the big hamstring stretch you might be feeling in the back of the legs. Notice the tendency to turn on the quads and lift the kneecaps. Maybe you can do that. Get a little deeper into the hamstring, hugging the quad muscles to the bone. You can release the hands from your hips and find some soup cans laying around, or some books, or some blocks. And then allow your spine to round, allow your head to get heavy. And then just using the soup cans to bring the floor up to your hands. Again, if your head is not supposed to be below the heart, I would just stay in that halfway flat back position and allow the work to happen to the inner thighs there. Now to exit this pose, here our head is hanging heavy because our spine rounded. I want you to lift your eye gaze forward, press into the floor or your props, start to flatten the back out, find weight in your heels, firm up your belly, firm up your glutes, hands go on the hips, push into the heels, and use your glutes to rise back up to standing. Good. Squeeze the glutes, lift the heart at the top, and then heel toe your feet together. Just like so. Nice work, yogis. Let's make our way down to the ground. I'm going to squeeze in a little stargazer pose if I can. So if you're like me and you have all kinds of props, clean up your space and we'll make our way down to the ground. Stand in mountain pose at the top of your mat. Circle sweep the arms up. Bring your hands to prayer. Exhale, tilt your pelvis. Rotate your pelvis, send your hips back and come to a forward fold. Plant your hands on the ground. Take one foot back, bring a knee down. Take the other foot back, bring a knee down, and then come to a seat. If you come to a seat with your chest facing the screen, I'm going to have you come into this this deer pose shape. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take one leg and turn it externally, and one leg and turn it internally. Hopefully that shape makes sense to you. So if my feet were both up in the air, both knees went down in the same direction. And if you look down at yourself, the externally rotated leg or the skin on the outside leg will sort of be framed across your body. Then you'll have a leg back behind you. Now, if you have pain in the knees right now, get out of it, okay? Deep knee flexion isn't great for some people. You can work on dorsiflexing your ankles. That might help if you have any knee pain. If you have knee pain, please don't do this one. Just sit this one out with me, okay? Only do this if it feels okay. Now, the leg that's bent in front, I want you to take that hand, put it behind you. So you're leaning back. You're going to point your front toe and then just push your hips up off the ground. You'll notice you get a little hip stretch there, particularly in the hip of the leg that's back. Squeeze your glute, lay it back down. So you can try that one again, or you can bring this long lever in to get more of a stretch. It's going to look like this. I'm going to pack my shoulder, lift my hips, roll onto that shin bone, get where you can see me. And then I'm going to take this opposite arm and I'm going to reach up in the air, squeeze the glute. As you lift, your eye gaze goes up to the ceiling. It's going to be a deep stretch on your front quad and your hip flexor. Shoulder, left shoulder, planted hand shoulder out of the ear. Keep breathing. And then bring your hips down to the floor. That's a delicious one, isn't it? I love that one. All right, so let's bring our feet, our knees back up to neutral and find that shape on the other side. So new leg, the leg that was behind, that goes into internal rotation. There we go. So how did I get there? I turned away from the screen a little bit. I let both knees fall in a new direction. And I've got this deer pose shape in my body. All right. So the leg that's in front, that's the hand that goes in back. So we'll just start one, packing the shoulder, where we just feel what it feels like. So lift the hips, squeeze the glute, open up the front of the hip flexor. And if that feels safe in your body, no pain in the knees, we'll lower it down. And then you can try adding this opposite arm. So once again, plant, lift the hips, bring this arm up overhead, reach, opening up this whole front and side line of the body. So the knee that's in front, it's my left one now. Or I'm sorry, the knee that's in back, my left one now. From my fingertips down to my knees, I should feel this sensation. Keep breathing. And then bring yourself back down to the ground. Bring your knees back up to center. Nice work, yogis. And then let's roll down onto the mat. So round your back like you're going to go into cat pose and come down to the mat. Great stuff. So if you've never done bridge pose before, just take a look and I'm going to show you right here. Otherwise, look up at the ceiling, keep your neck nice and neutral as you move into bridge pose and just listen to my voice. Bottoms of the feet go on the ground, knees are pointed up to the ceiling. Arms down along your legs, eye gazes up to the ceiling. Press your hips up into the air. Good. Opening up the front of the hips, slight squeeze of the glutes. Keep looking at the ceiling. Shoulders can be down away from the ears and you can keep peeling up and feel your chest broaden and open. Notice if your knees want to fall out and splay wide. Bring your knees toward one another, recruit those adductors. And then breathe in, see your belly rise up on your breath. So relax and breathe into your belly, feel it expand. And then exhale, bring your hips down to the ground. Bring your right knee into your chest. Good. And then you can send your left leg long, or that doesn't feel great in the low back, just bring the right knee to the chest. Just some slight little tugs or sensations. Slide the left heel in, bring both knees into the chest. Rock side to side. And then keep your left knee in your chest. Come to neutral, put the right foot down, give yourself a little tug on the knee. And when I say chest, you can go more towards your armpit. Then if you wish for more sensation, you can slide your opposite leg long. So it's called single wind relieving pose. Find a little, I like to spread my toes when I do this pose. If you're practicing outside, you might feel the breeze between your toes. Then one more time, slide your right heel in, both knees are in. Bring your knees nice and wide. Rocking side to side. Place the feet on the ground. Let the bottoms of the feet find each other. Then open up your knees for this reclined butterfly pose. At this point, we're going to be closing out our practice, if that isn't clear. Allowing yourself just to be in this pose and trying not to grind or get any deeper than your body wants to be. Notice if you're holding any residual tension in your pelvis or your low back, in your jaw or your forehead. Then we're going to spend about 1.5 minutes or 2 in Shavasana and our final relaxation. So you have a couple of choices here. You can stay right here in the Supta Baddha Konasana pose, reclined butterfly pose. Or slide your hands down on the outside of your legs, bring your legs together, and maybe slide your legs long for corpse pose. Sometimes when your legs are extended, it might not feel great in your lower back. So if you don't want to have your legs long, like if you're feeling that little tension in the low back, feel free to bend the knees, that's fine. Walk the feet nice and wide and let the knees fall in. That can be pretty relaxing. So see if there's a shape here that I've offered that feels okay in your body. Close your eyes. Doing your body scan, start to just release and let go of today's practice. Let go of all of the activations. Let go of the need to control your breath. Your breath might even become shallow here and just enter into the chest for a shorter duration, and that's fine. Bring your awareness to your forehead and notice if you're thinking and you're scrunching and wrinkling your skin, trying to understand. Just release and let it go and trust the shape you're in. Soften your eyes in the sockets and let them hang, or let them sit deep and heavy in the sockets. Open your mouth. Open your jaw, pull your tongue away from your teeth in your mouth. And then when you relax your mouth, slightly keep it open. Lips aren't touching, teeth aren't touching. Try to relax around your throat, your shoulders. Imagine the skin and the musculature around your heart. Cultivate the sense of melting in the heart, softening. Let that sense of freedom and release travel down the arms to your fingers, relaxing your wrists and your thumb. Bringing your awareness back into your belly. Your cues to firm the skin around your belly today. Now let go. Let all the organs, digestion have room to work. Soften the front of your thighs, your kneecaps. Let the feet flop out to the sides if you're extended in corpse pose. Relax the toes. And I'm going to stop talking, so it's going to look like my camera's frozen, and just pause and be still. I'll bring you back. I'm right here. Let the breath bring you back into the rest of your day as a transition. Breathe a little bit deeper with more purpose, more conscious. Roll your right ear over to the mat. So you're looking over your right shoulder. Bring your head back up to the center. Roll your left ear down to the mat. Looking over to the left side. Start to wiggle your fingers and toes as you lift your eye gaze back up to center and rotate your wrists and your ankles. Move your legs into internal and external rotation. Just rotate your toes in and out. Bend your elbows. Slide your heels back up. Bring your knees into your chest one more time and roll over onto your side, whatever side you wish, and make a little pillow for your arm. And I want you to pause for a moment and see if you can think of something that you learned today, particularly about yourself, something that you've learned about yourself or possibly about your yoga practice. And then take your top hand, press yourself up into the mat, or press your hand in the mat to rise up. Oops, I lost my mic. Come to a seated position. Come to a seated position. Nice and comfortable. Effortless. Reconnecting the sits bones, rooting down in the earth, lifting through the crown of the head. Rigid, or not rigid, but alert. If you feel comfortable, you can bring your hands to this Anjali Mudra shape into prayer shape. It's a pleasure and an honor to share this practice with all of you. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.